If it wasn't discrimination. And you have the nerve, you have the nerve to sit there on your high horse and preach to these bottom-feeding dwellers who sit in the chat room, like Alliance Blog, who's been doing this for over a decade and still only got 2,000 followers. Yeah, I see you're a jabroni and a ham sandwich, and I don't want to hear from you ever again. About what the NWA is supposed to do. This is what pro wrestling is supposed to be. This is what the NWA is supposed to be. No. You don't tell anyone what the NWA is supposed to be, and you certainly don't lecture me about what the NWA is supposed to be. I made the NWA.
Why are you excited to be here tonight?
Because I'm just excited.
Yeah. No other explanation. Now, I do believe, tell me the truth. Is it true that your dad has a ringside seat, but didn't get you guys ringside seats?
That is true, but it's because of his YouTube channel, okay? It's his YouTube, okay?
Her dad's an influencer. Let him go, guys. But your dad's awesome, right?
Yeah.
See, he's awesome! Yeah! Give it up for Claire. Thank you so much, Claire. High five. Yeah!
Woo! Here's the story now. If I see Kevin Owens, or even someone who looks like Kevin Owens, I drop them on sight.
Welcome.
It's party time! So, what day is it today?
Tuesday?
Wrong. It's NWA Day.
They want NWA? Let's give them NWA.
I was thinking that it might be a good idea if you and I formed an alliance.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Attention, everyone. Welcome to the greatest wrestling program in the world.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? Stop what you're doing and listen.
Okay, let's party.
It's the pre-party with J. Cal.
There we are. What is up, everybody? Thanks for waiting. I apologize. I hope you can hear me. You are tuned in to the MNF and Greatest, or something like that. It's your boy J. Cal. We're here live at the Alliance Blog Studios right here in beautiful Southern California. After spending 4 days in Philly, taking the slow train from Philly all the way back to SoCal, your guy J. Cal is here, and we're talking all things NWA. Just spent the last hour doing the pre-party with my guy Soto619, talking some NWA, talking some WWE. But we're here, guys. We're talking wrestling, and I see my boys are already in the chat. We got Bobby Batito in the house. Bobby, what is going on? Sean Mega's in the house. Noob is here. Hey, if you don't like spoilers, don't watch this. Absolutely, because I'm not going to keep my mouth shut. It's not my fault they can't turn around the TV time. Willie Bowen says, the only way you can get Tyrus to confess about being a horrible wrestler, offer him a gift certificate to Domino's Pizza. There it is. There it is. If you guys didn't know, again, there was, I can only call it as a hugely successful weekend that the National Wrestling Alliance had out there in Philadelphia. because a night of spectacular wrestling. Your boy Jay was sitting ringside with El Hijo de Milk, or Milk Mascaras. I don't know what he was going by these days. We were there. We had a great time. Thanks to our pal Tim, the Alliance North, for making sure that your boy Jay was treated with the utmost respect there at the event. Also, shout out to Pollo Del Mar for hooking up your boy with a press pass. I was part of the media, and I got some great content. So for those of you who have been watching the YouTube channel, you've seen some already clips and some stuff from the Crockett Cup. There is more, so much more to be released, and we'll be putting up some stuff very, very soon. But it was a great show, man. And I got to tell you, you know, and I'm sure we'll talk more about this on Thursday, but Jaden, who typically is not a big fan of what the NWA does, he was very pleased with the event that we went to last year, the 76th anniversary show. This year, he also was pretty impressed with the NWA. Overall, gave the show like a B. And I'll be honest, I think my score was closer to like a B+. But I felt like it was great. It wasn't the greatest wrestling I've ever seen, but it was pretty good. If it would have just been Natty versus Kenzie, then I would have given it an A+ and thought the show was amazing. There were some lows, there were some highs, there were some things that didn't make sense. You know, we walked into Crockett Cup thinking that there was going to be a 16-team tournament because there had been 15 teams announced. When you do the math, it just figured there was one missing component. That wasn't the case. They did basically a wild card tournament, battle royal, and there was a lot of familiar faces. Some of those names were the names that were introduced as part of the tournament early on. So like the Temple of Doom, although it was more like the Temple of Dumb. They were involved. The Slime Balls were regulated. Really, I can't talk anymore. It was set to be a part of the tournament. They were in the battle royal, and it was good wrestling. But there was some changes, you know, that we weren't expecting. Obviously, if you were on the, if you had visited alliance-wrestling.com before the show, Gail Kim posted that she was sick. We talked about that. She was unable to make the event, so she wasn't the special referee on the show. Bobby Petito, right off the bat, your thoughts on the tag team of Tiffany Neves and Valentina Rossi and their opponents. Let's get to it, man. You guys want to talk about it? And so far, I haven't seen what matches are coming up for the NWA today, so we could talk about Crockett Cup. And I'll say this: Tiffany Neves, I think very highly of. Right, Tiffany Neves has been very good in the NWA. I still think she has a lot to grow on. Right, I still think there's a lot more that she needs to do before she, you know, takes that next level. But I honestly believe that she's been pretty good in the NWA as it is. They partnered her with Valentina Rossi, who a lot of people might have known was or is a part of WoW. She's part of the faction called the Alliance, so no affiliation, but our girl Ruby Reyes is a part of that group too. So it was kind of cool to see someone from Ruby Reyes' group, where she's recognized as Reina Del Rey in WoW. One of her girls showed up in the NWA, and we saw her just a few weeks ago in a singles match, and I thought she was fantastic. And putting her with Tiffany Neves, with Miss Star as a manager, I think solves one of the biggest problems that the NWA has, which is a lack of credible tag teams. And I don't know what the plan is going forward, but when you have two Page sisters, now you have TVMA and potentially the Island Girls. That's like three pretty good tag teams. So I really appreciated the tag team. I really appreciated the wrestling. I think this might be a clip of it. Let me see if do I have the video clip ready. No, I think maybe that's the one I don't have. Well, I do have a picture, I think. Not a great picture. Tiffany Neves, the women's television champion. They had a great look. It's silly, right? But when wrestlers have a connected look, I feel like that adds something to the tag team. And, if you think about throughout time in history, like the British Bulldogs, the Legion of Doom, the Rock and Roll Express, the Midnight Express, you had two partners who looked similar. Like in the modern NWA, you had Pretty Empowered, and you had the Money Birds recently. You also had former tag team champions, the Renegade Twins, who obviously looked a lot alike, and you had the King Bees, who had a similar look. I kind of think the tag teams look good when they have a similar look to each other. And Tiffany Rossi and Valentina and Tiffany have a similar look. They have similar styles of wrestling. I would say that Tiffany or Valentina is a little bit greener behind the ears than our girl Tiffany, but I feel like they both have a lot that could bring some value to any wrestling promotion, specifically the NWA. So with that being said, I really did like them a lot. Now, the Island Girls, who formerly were the Tonga Twins and former WOW Tag Team Champions, I think they're multiple-time WOW Tag Team Champions, they had a pretty decent start to the NWA. I don't think they're as talented as a lot of other people think, and I'm not trying to be mean. They have room to grow. I feel like she has room to grow. Both of them have room to grow. That's not to say that I don't think that they could be good for the NWA, because I absolutely think they can be. But again, this is an ever growing problem for the NWA, is having just decent talent in that women's tag team division, and that problem gets solved by both the Tonga Twins and TVMA. And you put that with the Money Birds, who I believe will be back, and then potentially down the road, the Page sisters. I mean, that's like now you have 5 really good tag teams. I think that's a good start. Rozville stopped by. Just stopping by to say, hey, heading out to wrestling training, Dragonplex Dojo. I'll catch the playback. Thank you, Roz. Appreciate you, man. Good luck in your training. I didn't know you were training to be a wrestler. That's pretty dope. So I hope I answered your question, Bobby. I thought Tiffany Neves and Valentina Rossi looked great. The match that they had, I think, was real solid. I see both of them being as a tag team. I think they're very solid. I think that's going to do a lot of good for the NWA, and I hope the Island Twins continue to be a part of the National Wrestling Alliance. I hope it wasn't just a one-off. But we have to wait and see on that. Sean Vega says Dante Casanova is on tonight's show. I just saw the rundown for tonight's NWA, and it's not a bad card. I wouldn't necessarily call it a great card, but it looks like we're going to have Carson Drake's last TV title match that aired on television. And shout out to Ninja Mac, who just gave me a follow on X. Thank you, Ninja Mac. Not that he's here listening in the chat. But yeah, Dante Casanova, we talked about this on Discord, I think. He's a dude who I feel like would be very, very good on the main NWA roster. I mean, I know he's holding it down for Exodus Pro as the, what is it called? The NWA Western States. I don't even know what the title's called. The Exodus Pro Championship. Sorry, I did not get a lot of sleep this past week, so I'll be honest, I'm a little out of it. But yeah, Dante Casanova is a guy that I think makes sense on the main roster, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do as part of that main roster. I'm wearing the Kevin Owens shirt because earlier today we were doing a WWE chat with my boy Soto619. So I just wanted to point that out. Willie Bowen says, I want Vicky Lynn McCoy, Freya the Slay, and Lana Cross in the NWA. I mean, we've seen Freya the Slay make appearances for both. She was at the JCP promotion. She has been on an episode of the NWA on NWA Circled Square back when they were doing trying new things. And then Sean Mega says, wish Penelope Pink would come to the NWA. Yeah, I mean, look, there was a lot of talk about this whole new deal with the NWA showing up on the new streaming platform Wrestling Central on Roku. There was a lot of talk about that this weekend, and who knows what will happen. But Billy didn't rule anything out, and he did mention we did get confirmation from him, and I will put up the video later, that he did acknowledge that this new program that's going to be airing on Wrestling Central will not be first run programming. It'll be historical content from the NWA. And I don't mean from the Paul Bosch library. I believe it's going to be past episodes of Power and pay-per-views that they are setting up for that network. And I don't know if it's going to be just a full entire show, or like a throwback show, or if they're just going to air it as they recorded them back in the day. But it will not be first run programming for the National Wrestling Alliance. Overmetal says, if you had to grade Hammerstone's performance on a 10-point scale. So here's the thing about Hammerstone. Hammerstone, I feel like right now in the National Wrestling Alliance, in GCW, in MLW, is auditioning for an opportunity to go bigger and better. I feel like he is very much looking to get a deal with the WWE or maybe even AEW. With that being said, I've seen him on different various indie wrestling promotions throughout the years. We saw him in United Wrestling Network defending the at that point it was like the West Coast Pro Wrestling Heavyweight Championship. I've seen him wrestle for GCW a couple of times. The most recent time he wrestled against Effie for the GCW title, and then we just this past Saturday against Silas Mason. I felt like he was more here for this match than he was for his match against Effie. I feel like he was in the ring with somebody that could match size and strength with him, but that guy had, it was a good match. And I'm going to say, I'm not going to try to give out all the spoilers, but I would definitely like to see him make a return to the NWA. And if those cards could align, I have clips and I just want to show them because I took the time to put them up. So give me 5 minutes to play some clips and then we'll get back to everything. But we'll start off with this. Now, that was Little Sage and I say Little Sage because he's not a big guy, of the Slime Balls being a manning up to Odinson. And it was such a weird dynamic seeing these guys in this environment because we're used to seeing them have no fear, but they've never really been in the ring with a team like the Immortals. And Kratos beat the ever-living snot, and I'm using that word as a qualifier, beat the ever-living snot out of our boy Sage. And I say our boy because something happened on Saturday night, and the Slimeball boys became Slimeball men. And I'm still not the biggest Slimeball fan, and I'm not going to Slimeball City, but those two earned some respect. They got out there. They won the Battle Royal to get into the Crockett Cup. They faced a very formidable tag team in the first round, faced a very formidable tag team in the second round before they got eliminated. And I'm just saying, man, those guys really showed some heart and really some perseverance. Did they win? No. But I am very excited to see what they were able to do in that ring. Noob, Willie, I'm going to get to your guys' comments in a minute. I do just want to go through some more of these clips, and then we'll get back to everything else. biggest heel of the night was the guy in that shirt with the camera who kept walking in front of my camera every chance he got. I still very much like the Country Gentlemen. I think now it might be the time to let them take a break from teaming together. You have a new television champion in Brian Idol. You have the national champion in Mims. They need competition. AJ Kazana could fit either one of those roles. I would like to see him move on from tag teaming for a while. The fans in Philly were hot all night. They were all over Joe Kazana, calling him Colonel Sanders. Some of what they said was stupid. Like they said, spicy seasons. It's like, it's crispy chicken, not spicy chicken. You go to Popeyes for spicy chicken. But by and large, that was a fun match too. Slade and Mondo. I keep talking about the NWA should do some restructuring and get some more tag teams in. I want Slade and Mondo as a tag team on all the time. Mondo is so strong in that ring and has did some pretty crazy stuff showcasing that power in the ring. And Slade is right there behind him, and I could see them being like a modern-day version of the Steiner brothers. You know, obviously, they're not Rick and Scott, but I think that they did a very good job in their matches, and I would like to see them continue to team together. No sign of Rolando over the weekend, which made me even happier. Slade and Mondo as a tag team, I think, makes so much sense, and I hope the NWA will continue to go with that. Sean Mega, real quick, says, I'm telling the folks, Slime Ball fans, the Slime Balls face churn will be good for business for the NWA. I agree. You got me, Sean. They really stepped up over the weekend and made me a believer. Not necessarily a fan, but definitely a believer. And so that was clips of the opening tournament that kicked off the show. I believe they called it the David Crockett Memorial. Not David Crockett Memorial. David Crockett Invitational Tag Team Battle Royal. We saw a lot of teams that weren't advertised, and a couple of them that were. Even and I don't remember her name, but there was also a female wrestler in the group, so it wasn't just a man battle royal. Some of the comments there. Soto says, nice footage. It looks like you were one of the camera guys. We're sitting front row. Thank you, Timmy Alliance. No, they were they were calling it David Crockett because David Crockett was there. It's the Jim Crockett Cup. This was the David Crockett Invitational Battle Royal. Yankees wouldn't know spice if it slapped him in the mouth. We're in Philly, man. Got good cheesesteaks there. Noob says, I mean, that's what Joe Kazana looks like. Colonel Sanders, he should be in a KFC commercial. Shit. Let's see. Yeah. And then just a few more clips here that I'm going to play. Then we'll get to the rest of the show. So, I mean, that was pretty cool, that matchup. I'm not going to tell you what round it is. The results are posted. You guys can go find it out. And then, of course, seeing Epico and Primo in the ring with the Immortals. They've had a lot of matches in the NWA in the short time that the Colognes have been a part of the National Wrestling Alliance. So it was kind of neat to see them meet up again in the Crockett Cup. And yes, that was the one part of the 3-part main event. That was match number 2 of the main event series that closed out the night. Colby, so full disclosure, there was a lot of weather conditions before the Crockett Cup. Flying from California to get to the event, there was bad weather, and there was even talks of grounding our plane in Pittsburgh because they didn't think we could get into Philly with all the really rough weather. Thankfully, my plane and one other plane got in, but they had canceled flights. Colby, unfortunately, was one of those flights that got canceled. So at the last minute, he got a car and drove, I think, from North Carolina to Philly to make sure that he was there on time for the Crockett Cup. And to answer Soto's question, yes, they were chanting Sabu. There was a big, there was a lot of very pro Sabu sentiment in the crowd, obviously, because they were in the 2300 arena. There was a banner hanging up that Sabu was retired in that building. Not retired, excuse me. His banner was hung up in that building back in 2009 to pay homage to Sabu and his contributions to ECW and the 2300 arena. Again, had it not been from ECW, that place would still probably be a bingo hall or maybe not even existing. Now it's one of the preeminent wrestling venues in the Northeast that isn't a 40,000 seat arena. And they had the crowd was hot most of the night. The arena was full. The fans certainly showed up to see this show. There was 90% of the audience was there for Natty, no doubt about it. Natty was very popular in the area. During the main event, prior to that matchup between Tom and Sabu and Colby, they did recognize, I said Sabu, Tom, Rhino, and Colby. They did pay homage to Sabu, Jazz, Pat Kenny, the Blue Meanie, and William Patrick Corgan and Kyle Davis were in the ring, and they celebrated the honor and memory of Sabu, and they all did the point to the sky and all that stuff, and it was nice. What I was disappointed is they didn't start the show with the 10-bell salute, and that kind of bothered me, but they made it right. They did the 10-bell salute during this tribute to Sabu. So all in all, it was pretty good. And so that match, the World Championship match, I felt wasn't the greatest event. Not for a lack of trying. I felt Colby was really killing it out there. He was trying his best. Rhino was Rhino. Tom was Tom. I don't feel like they just had good match chemistry. And, I don't know who you blame here, but I feel like, Colby should have been able to get his own single one-on-one match against Tom for the 10 pounds of gold. And I feel like, Rhino and Tom should have been left alone. I feel like that would have been a much better way to do it. But yeah, the fans were chanting Sabu at the beginning of that match. And Colby hit some Sabu-esque spots, including the triple jump moonsault and using the chair to dive onto his opponent. That match also with the traditional ECW triple threat rules. They allowed pretty much everything. It was not called a no disqualification match, but the referee was just there to take the pinfall count. Willie says that the next Crockett Cup should be more tag teams from NWA and its territories, United Wrestling Network, and other indies. Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with that. I feel like if I'm booking the Crockett Cup, Willie Bowen, I think the first thing I do is I make a list of maybe the 4 best NWA tag teams. And then I'm going to go take a list of who are the best 4 tag teams that are available on the independent circuit that we could use, right? So like Wolf Zaddies or TMDK or a combination of both of them, the solid tag teams from around the U.S., right? And then I'm going to go to WWE and be like, hey, man, who you got? Who can we use? And if they say, oh, sorry, we got nobody, then I'm going to go to Tony Khan and be like, hey, how about the Revival? And they say no, then I'll be like, all right, TNA, how about the Hardy Boys? Nope, okay. I feel like you need to add some stars to the tag team tournament. What was really special about the Briscoes winning it is that they're probably one of the most prolific tag teams of our time, space, and age. And you don't get the sense that there's a super great tag team, a team that's known for just tag wrestling. You know, Murdochs are the tag champions. Blunt Force Trauma are former tag champions. The Immortals have held tag titles, but none of them really have that same essence as like a Hardy Boys or a Revival, FTR, or like, you know, somebody of that stature. And I feel like if the NWA were able to do that, that would be incredible. Yeah, so I agree, Willie. I think more tag teams would be better. I also feel like, you know, they divided the night too much. I mean, I love the fact that we got Natty Neidhart for a world title match. I love the fact that we had Rhino for a world title match. But the night should be about the tournament, and I feel like there should have been a greater emphasis put on the tag tournament. And I think for the one night, I think it'd be all right to not have as many title matches. Like, we didn't need to have a national title defense and a TV title vacancy filled, and, you know, the women's tag team titles, and, you know, like, there was too much going on. I feel like you could have put one title match in there and maybe like, you know, some other specialty matches. Like Wrecking Ball and Jay Bradley tore the house down. I don't think that's getting nearly as much buzz as it deserves. Soto said, I'm still new to this, but does the NWA ever have events in SoCal? So from about 2008 to 2012, the National Wrestling Alliance was represented in Southern California by David Marquez and his affiliate of wrestling promotions. That means Championship Wrestling from Hollywood and all of its affiliates were recognized as the NWA. So in our area, Soto, like SoCal Pro was an NWA affiliate. Mach 1 Wrestling was an NWA affiliate. EWF was an NWA affiliate. And all of these teams were all these promotions were associated with the National Wrestling Alliance. They would book then World's Heavyweight Champion Scrap Iron Adam Pearce, the NWA World Tag Team Champions, whether it was Los Luchas or, you know, Joey Ryan and Carl Anderson. They would book those NWA champions here. Colt Cabana would defend the world's title out here. But that ended around 2012. And they haven't really returned. At one point, Billy and Dave were working together. They did the Primetime Live pay-per-view series where Nick Aldis did defend the 10 pounds of gold here in Southern California. And then the last person to defend the title here in California was EC3, who defended the world title in Lake Elsinore against Honest John. Good match, but didn't get a lot of pub and probably won't. David Valentine says the Country Gentlemen are the best tag team in the NWA. I'm glad you think so, David. I feel like I'm a big AJ Kazana fan. I've got nothing against KC Kazana. I just feel like when I look at AJ, I feel like he could be doing something in the singles division. And I think both of them would be maybe better suited for singles run, at least for now. They're not getting the opportunity to wrestle for the world tag titles. And I feel like they would be better out in the singles wrestling. the no limits match between Natalya, Markova, and Kylie Pages is, and hopefully Natalya will win the NWA Women's title and go on a 68-month run with the Burke and not a 1 to 2 year reign. Noob, that's very specific, brother. Kylie and Natty had a phenomenal match too. It's going to be overshadowed by what Natty and Kenzie did, but I think honestly the way it felt being there live after Kenzie and Kylie left the arena, I kind of thought that we would see Markova come out, and that's something I want to talk about on Thursday, but we'll go and get to it here. When Cody Rhodes won the NWA World's Heavyweight Championship, Cody was a free agent, right? Totally free agent. Well, I guess he wasn't totally free. He was working with Ring of Honor, but his contract was set to expire soon. And he had the ability to work with the NWA, not a problem. It took Cody winning the world title, defending the title one time on Ring of Honor programming against Willie Mack, and then subsequently losing the title to Nick Aldis at the 70th anniversary show in Nashville. So he made 3 appearances in total for 2 appearances really for the NWA, and had the title defense one time in Ring of Honor. He brought the belt with him when he was wrestling for New Japan Strong. The night he won the IWGP US Championship, he was the NWA World Champion. And I guess all of this to say that is if Natty would have won the title, I don't think Natty would have needed to be, locked into some sort of contract. I think the NWA could have really benefited from just having 3 dates with Natty. The first one being where she wins the title, the second date being either a tag team match or a title defense, and then lastly, one more title defense before leaving the NWA officially. So when I see what you said about Natalya, I kind of thought with the way that Kylie intervened, it would have been a smart move to have Natalya come out and make the save, or at least engage the Page sisters, because we know that Natalya has a world championship match for the 77. She already won that match, that opportunity at Hard Times. So she will challenge whoever's champion when we get to Hard Times. It just depends on who's champion. Sean Mega says, when and where are the next power tapings? Interestingly enough, Sean, there was no formal announcement about that. Now, with that being said, I don't think they're going to go a very long time without something, but nothing was announced yet. Now, in the past, they did the Return to the Territories, and that was with Joe Kazana Promotions, and the next Joe Kazana card looks pretty good, and I'll see if I can pull it up here real quick. But I know that Latimer is defending the title on the next it's the Beer Market Brawl on May 24th. That show already has slated to be there, will be the World Tag Team Champions, Murdochs. You're also supposed to have the World Heavyweight Champion, Tom Latimer. Kenzie and Kylie will both be there along with the Country Gentlemen. So, I mean, that may be used as a TV taping for them. That's actually this Friday night, I believe. And then next week, in June, they go back to Decatur to do another event with a lot of the faces from the main roster will also be there. Silas Mason, Carson Drake, the Southern Six will be there. Jake Dumas. But that to say, like, there has been no official announcement made for their next television taping event. And I don't know, they're even now advertising NWA and FTW as a thing, which is weird because FTW was not made a part of the NWA. But all that to say, there was no official date for the next event, but I'm sure we'll get one relatively soon. Last year, the suit was, after Crockett Cup, there was the Return to the Territories. After the Territory show was the 76th. So I'm assuming something similar to that is going to happen. Bobby says, Matt Cardona will be at the next Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling show on July 5th. So will Tom. That'd be very interesting if Tom and Cardona lock horns. I would actually be okay with that very much. Let's see. I know there's some comments early on that maybe I missed. I just want to go back and check that I got them. Yeah, I think we got everything. Okay, cool. And then Noob says, and end the run with the dream match between Marova and Natty Neidhart, whether it's in a WWE ring or NWA ring. I don't care. The diehard fan says that match is, the kids say, feeds families. Yeah, like the way I look at it is, again, if they would have kept, if J. Cal was booking the NWA, that's exactly how it would have played out. I would have done Kenzie loses to Neidhart, Natty, in the NWA at Crockett Cup. That's how I would have booked it. And because of Kenzie's interference, that would have brought Natalya out to make sure that Natty got a clean victory. Then that would set up a tag team match for a power taping where you put the Kenzie sisters, Kenzie and Kylie, the Page sisters would defend the not defend. Wow, let me try this over again. Kenzie and Kylie would have a matchup against Natalya and Natty, and you would have that match kind of break out where maybe Natalya and Natty get into it after the match. Maybe one more title defense for Natty at the TV tapings, which would make 4 matches total against perhaps Kylie or somebody else on the roster, just to give her a big win before then she would defend the title against Natalya Marova. And that would be the match where Marova would go over and Natalie would go back to the WWE. And I feel like that would have been a good way to build it. I'm interested to see who goes against Tom Latimer for the world's heavyweight title at Maple Leaf Pro. Yeah, Bobby. I mean, I really feel like that would be a good choice. Would be Matt Cardona, but that's also like Matt Cardona has been so separated from the NWA for such a long time that maybe it's better just being somebody else from their roster. Bobby also says, if Scott D'Amore did have a tag division, would you like to see the NWA tag teams wrestle at Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling? Yeah, I would love to see the tag teams. Look, our tag team champions right now are Mike Knox and Trevor Murdoch. And I would say that you put them on any roster and they are very as dominant as they are now. I don't, if you put them on Raw right now in a match with the Viking Raiders, I'm not saying that they look overshadowed at all. You put them in the ring with Shelton Benjamin and Bobby Lashley, and they don't look any smaller as a tag team. You put them in the ring against the Hardy Boys, they still are very much the NWA World Tag Team Champions. They don't shrink in the spotlight. Trevor Murdoch has been in the business way too long. Mike Knox, former WWE guy as well. These guys are programmed for pro wrestling. So I feel like you could really slot them almost on any roster, and they would still be very the same tag team, right? Like I've seen people get put on different rosters, and it's like, well, you kind of shrink in the spotlight. There's no way you could put Trevor Murdoch and Mike Knox anywhere else, and they still wouldn't be the two badasses that they are. Pure and simple. David Valentine says, the NWA add Vendetta Pro Wrestling as a new territory. Now the NWA has a presence in California. Again, I don't think Vendetta Pro has run in maybe like 5 years. So, Vendetta was a very strong NWA territory. They're the ones responsible for doing the NWA shows that were at the Cauliflower Ear conventions. So, I mean, they did host some title matches, specifically Jack Stane and Tim Storm. And so, I mean, they wouldn't be a bad member, but I don't think Vendetta Pro is even running anymore. I know that the person who was responsible for booking Vendetta Pro, I think he owned the Vendetta Pro. I think he's moved on to midget wrestling, and I don't think he has time for pro wrestling as it was. Shout out to Alex Misery and the Lost. That's another tag team that was so impressive at the Crockett Cup, and I didn't talk about it, but Misery and Crazy Steve, are you kidding me? Like, Crazy Steve, in addition to the Lost, was great. And Misery is getting so good in the ring. And I'm not just saying that because he's here, although, hey, Alex, if you want to come on the show, we could talk about so much. Mecca will put you over not years ago, like a year ago. And your Pops is one of my favorites from that time frame that he was NWA North American champion. I'd love to have you come on and talk some NWA when you have an opportunity to. But I feel like Crazy Steve and Misery were a great tag team and probably the best. I feel like the best combination that they could have got out of those 4 members for the tag team for the Crockett Cup. I would have liked to seen them go a little bit further too in the whole Crockett Cup. But I'm glad that they're around. I feel like Misery and Crazy Steve could be quite formidable in the NWA. And look, and the cool thing about Alex Misery is he can really go anywhere. Putting him in the heavyweight division is going to mean he has to rely on his speed and size and agility. But putting him in the junior heavyweight division kind of gives him an edge over somebody like Alex Taylor, who's more of a grounded wrestler, more of a mat technician, where a guy like Misery, similar to Colby Carino when he was junior heavyweight champion, is willing to go all out, kind of like the no limits style of wrestling. So there's my props for you, Alex Misery. Thanks for hanging out. Appreciate you, sir. Soto said, did you talk about your interaction with Natalya? So Natty Neidhart, you guys have probably seen on our social medias. We posted it on TikTok and on Instagram and on Blue Sky and on X. Natty walked right past me as she was coming to the ring, and she's awesome. And she commands that presence. She's obviously a Heart member. She's just commands your respect the minute she walks into the arena, and Philly was very happy to give her that. The cool thing is she walked by, she was high-fiving people, and she went to give me a high five, and I went to give her a high five, and it was kind of weird because she kind of grabbed onto my hand, and like my watch kind of got stuck on her hand. It was weird, but it was my brush with the best of all time. And then she went on to have a hell of a match with Kenzie Page and then beat the crap out of a fan ringside. That was my interaction. Bobby said, did you hear the news that Ruthie Jay is done with the NWA? Yes, Ruthie Jay went on our friend's live stream podcast, Hitting the Turnbuckle. That is the UK-based wrestling podcast featuring our dear friend Fiona, and I believe his name's John over there at Hitting the Turnbuckle. They do a great podcast. They are very pro NWA. I highly recommend it if you guys aren't checking them out to check them out because more positive NWA voices are necessary, I think. And of course, Fiona's great. Fiona's not just a friend of the show anymore. She's a friend of the family. So I put her over whenever I can. Noob says, what are your thoughts on Brian Idol becoming a champion in the NWA? I still don't trust him as a champion because I think he's a booker than a wrestler. All right, Noob. So I've been very transparent on my opinion of Brian Idol. I'm not a huge fan. I'm not a huge fan of Carson Drake either. Both of these guys. Jaden said, is this your bathroom match? Like, is this the match you're going to get up and go to the bathroom? I thought about it, but I stayed. And it's probably the best match Carson Drake has had while he's in the NWA. And it was also probably the best match I've seen from Brian Idol. I really don't like either one of these guys is what I meant to say, but they had a pretty good match. And, the thing about the television title, it should be an anomaly when somebody wins the Lucky 7 series. We've seen it happen far too often now. I mean, Tyrus did it. EC3 did it. Who else did it? The Pope could not do it. Ricky Starks could not do it. Going back in time, neither could Zicky Dice. But there's been, I feel like having that title and going the 7 series, I feel like it's been too easy and it shouldn't happen like that. I feel like the TV title, this title right here, should bounce around all the time. This is a belt that I feel like should not define a wrestler. It should be a stepping stone for the wrestler. A long time run with the TV title just means that you weren't efficient enough to get to that Lucky 7 faster. The title isn't supposed to be used to be a long-term clutch for these guys. It's supposed to be a short-term pop. It's supposed to build somebody up fast. With that being said, I wouldn't hate the fact if Brian Idol wins the title and then loses the title and then regains the title and then loses the title and then someone else wins the title. And I don't want to hot potato the title, but it certainly shouldn't sit on somebody for 6 months. If the TV champion is still champion after 6 months, you're doing it wrong. I'm glad the title didn't go back to Carson Drake. I'm willing to give Brian Idol the benefit of the doubt, but he's on the wrong side of, I think, 40, and I have never really enjoyed him as a wrestler. So we'll see what happens next with Brian Idol. But if they give him some compelling opponents, they put him in the ring with the right guys, it could be interesting. They tried to use him as a babyface as of late, so we'll see. Maybe it turns out for him. Soto, if I really pushed the boundaries of the press pass, I probably could have taken photos ringside. I did not push those boundaries. I did not want to. I wanted to enjoy the show as a fan. I did get early access. Poyo hooked your boy up, so I got to go to the Billy Corgan Q&A, and I got to hang out a little bit before the show with some of the talent. Got to say what's up to Throwbilly. Got to hand out a few shirts, and but ultimately would have liked to. I saw Malcolm Muscle prepared to do interviews with some of the talent before the show. Had I negotiated my press pass earlier, I probably could have set up and done some interviews for the show before the show started. Regretfully, I did not do that. I will not make that mistake next year or the next time I go to an NWA event. I will put in early to get that press pass to get some interviews. But I didn't take advantage of it this time. For Ruthie Jay, I know that she was working with Coastal Championship Wrestling. There's also the All Caribbean Wrestling. I could see her bouncing back and forth between those promotions. She's still young and she's very talented. The NWA isn't the end all be all, and they weren't really using her that frequently anyways. And the way that they used her was more or less enhancement. Like La Rosa Negra is the Puerto Rican women's champion into the World Wrestling Council. Like, why isn't that a bigger deal for the NWA? Why isn't she treated as a bigger star? La Rosa Negra should not be doing the job for just any female competitor they bring into the NWA. I'm all right with her being like the measuring stick. Okay, let's see if this person's good. You'll put them in the ring with La Rosa Negra to see if they have what it takes, but not as an enhancement talent. Heck no, that's a waste of time for everybody. Kyle Davis doesn't have money to buy the NWA. Kyle Davis is a great dude. I got to say hi to him at the show. He's not in a position to buy the NWA. Nobody is. So I'm not gonna try to con anyone into thinking that he's more than what he is. He's a good as a broadcaster, as a backstage interviewer, and a ring announcer. That's what he's used for, and that's where he should be. Okay, so for tonight's show, Power, which starts in about 10 minutes, we are going to see a world television title match. Carson Drake is just one win away from securing the vaulted Lucky 7 and a shot at Tom Latimer and the 10 pounds of gold. In this week's world television title match, can he overcome both Baron Von Storm and the nearly 7-foot-tall Pretty Boy Smooth? This is kind of ironic to me because, but doing the math before, including matches outside of Power, Carson Drake has had more than enough title victories as a TV champion that he didn't need any to secure anymore. Pretty Boy Smooth and Baron Von Storm, neither one of these guys have done a whole lot to earn a TV title shot. Pretty Boy Smooth being a former NWA Exodus Pro champion, certainly I think gives him some carte blanche to request title matches. But on Power, he hasn't done enough to, in my esteem, earn that title shot. So for that reason, I'm out. I don't think we know who wins, right? We know who wins the match. I'm not excited about this one at all. Pretty Boy Smooth and EC3 really surprised me as a tag team, and I think you guys will enjoy them as a tag team. This match does nothing for me. Next up, we have the, they didn't call it a Crockett Cup qualifying match, but they might, maybe they should have, right? Maybe that's how they should have booked this. You've got Slade and Mondo teaming against Mims and G's. G's has only kind of stepped in the ring every now and then. A couple years ago, he had the cancer scare. Then he got carjacked and shot. So Jesus had kind of a rough road, but him stepping in the ring with Mims to take on Mondo and Slade, not bad. Not bad at all. And I told you, I really did like the teaming of Slade and Mondo at the Crockett Cup. They looked really good. Next, we have the unlikely duo of the Rockstar Daisy Kill and the Towering Talos taking on Damian Fenner from FTW and Dante Casanova from Exodus Pro. Now, I think this match took place before Dante Casanova won the Exodus Pro Championship. But again, they could have billed this as a Crockett Cup qualifying match. I kind of wish they would have, because then it would have made more sense. We had some random pairings at the Crockett Cup with no explanation. But if you said, oh, we're doing these qualifying matches on Power, then it kind of would have made some sense. But of course, all of this happened before, we saw Power before we saw these particular matches. So I don't know. I mean, it'll make sense on TV, I think, long term, but that was just a little disappointing. And I think that's it for Power, those 3 matches. So it's going to be a fun night. I will say this, as we get back to just what we saw, what's happened, the NWA hit a home run. I feel like they did absolutely what they needed to do at Crockett Cup. Now, for my guy who's in the chat, Soto619, he brings up the fact that he is an avid wrestling fan and saw almost zero advertising for Power. And, you have to take the good and the bad. The NWA is to blame for that. They should have been outsourcing and trying to find a market, trying to find trying to find an audience that doesn't know about them. And that's kind of what, this show is all about too, where we're trying to help spread the word to get more people to watch the NWA, more people invested in the National Wrestling Alliance. But at the end of the day, it's up to William Patrick Corrigan to get more eyeballs on the product. Hammerstone, Blue Meanie, much lower, Meanie was there for autographs, but having the Blue Meanie there, Gail Kim called out because she was sick, but having Gail Kim there, having Hammerstone there, having the Colognes there, having Rhino there, and having Natty Neidhart, I mean, you really were trying to get that product out there and exposed. And I think the NWA was successful in that people are talking about it. Natty alone really went to bat for the NWA. She really, with the promos and Soto just said it right there. Natalya cut promos that helped spread the word for the NWA, so that helped. Absolutely. And it was a sellout crowd. They did great. NXT sells out when they go to the 2300, but so does the NWA. So you have to take some those moral victories. Like, they had a great draw. And that might have all been based on the fact that Natty was there. But, people didn't just leave after Natty. Some did. But I feel like it was a good show from top to bottom. Like I said, probably a B+. And I feel like this could be a momentum changer for the NWA. On top of that, Dave Scooby said he heard radio ads for the Crockett Cup on local Philly radio stations. That's good. But I guess what I'm trying to say is, this combined with the announcement for Wrestling Central means that the NWA is going to be more visible right now than it's been in a long time. And who knows what the future holds, if it's a TV deal or if it's a streaming deal, or if it just stays exactly the way it is on X. Power right now needs to start firing on all cylinders. The show needs to be cleaned up. The superstars are there. Their production quality looks good. Now they need to start performing bigger and better, bigger and better, bigger and better. And they delivered on Saturday night, May 17th at the Crockett Cup. So we'll have to wait and see. But I, for one, was happy with the show. I think you guys will like it. Of course, we'll be putting more content on all of our socials at the Alliance blog, Facebook, Instagram, X, Blue Sky, TikTok, of course, here on YouTube. Make sure you're staying tuned for all of that. We're going to wrap it up here for the show today. So I want to thank everyone that came to hang out at the Crockett Cup. I want to thank everyone who came out to hang out in the chat today. We'll be back on Thursday as we will review this week's Power, talk a little bit more about the Crockett Cup. And I think that's going to do it for us, guys. So thanks for hanging out with us. And as soon as my computer works properly, I'm going to close the show out by saying we'll see you at the matches. Thanks for checking out the Pre-Party, a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com. You should hit that subscribe button and join our community. I also want to remind you that we recap NWA Power every Thursday at 8 p.m. in the live stream. We try to stay social, so find us at the Alliance blog. And until next time, we are the Alliance.